Hello, Panthers. Welcome to the FIU alumni family. As an FIU alum, you're now part of a close-knit Panther community that contributes so much time and talent to Florida's growing economy. Today, you'll experience our community's unwavering lifelong commitment to your development. Being an FIU alumnus or alumna gives you incredible access, one that offers mentorship, networking, and job opportunities. Many of our FIU alumni who are sharing their time and expertise today were once in your shoes. They were guided by fellow Panthers when they were starting their careers. Remember, you're part of a vibrant and innovative group of alumni reshaping our business landscape. So dive in, stay connected with our amazing FIU community, and take advantage of the endless possibilities now at your fingertips.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Mr. President, for those words. Big shout out to our incredible president. And I now have the honor of introducing our keynote speaker, Carmen Ibarra. Thanks so much for being with us, Carmen.
Hey, Leo. Good morning. How are you, my friend?
Awesome. Doing very well. Better now that you're here. Let me go ahead and read your incredible bio and we'll get started.
Thank you.
Chef Carmen Ibarra grew up in Miami with a Peruvian-American family, which has inspired her culinary career. She graduated from FIU in hospitality management and has worked at several local restaurants, including Michelin-starred establishments. She's currently featured on the newest season 22 of Hell's Kitchen on Fox TV and Hulu, landing as a groundbreaking fourth-place contestant and as the first Peruvian-American to ever compete on the show. From Miami's simmering culinary tapestry, Chef Carmen Ibarra crafts each dish as a vivid homage to her roots, infusing them with a kaleidoscope of creative influences. Beyond the televised realm, Carmen unveils her culinary sanctuary, Atomica Roots, a Peruvian-inspired pop-up that pulsates with a symphony of inventive flavors and a rich cultural fusion. Amazing.
Thank you.
Carmen, you do so much. What inspires you to be so driven?
I would say I get a lot of my energy from my family and my upbringing, and being Peruvian American, my dad being an immigrant from Peru, and just coming here and working so hard to give me and my sister and my family like the best possible life that they possibly could. And I think a lot of that has inspired a lot of my work ethic, my drive, my pursuit to just follow my dreams. So it all stems down to my family for sure.
I love that. That's a similar story to a lot of our friends here in South Florida. Is there a specific time or event in your life that kind of served as the catalyst to making your career happen, take shape?
Well, definitely growing up, in the kitchen with my family. I think food has always been a passion of mine, and cooking has always been something that I've grown up around. However, I would say there are a lot of people whose lives drastically changed in 2020 when the pandemic hit, and I am definitely one of those people. So, during that time, I was going through a lot of my own personal changes and moving and going through a divorce and going through a lot of like big life changes, and also losing my corporate event planning job during that time. And so it's kind of like this feeling of almost losing everything, but it was also almost a chance to really like find yourself and be given this blank slate of an opportunity in life to really just follow your dreams and kind of start over. And that's kind of when I went back to cooking and took it as a serious career route versus just something that I love to do, as a kid growing up. So that's also when I started my mango salsa business. I began selling salsa in, jars out of my car, driving around the city, delivering. You were one of them for sure. And then, going back to school, studying in culinary and working in restaurants, which, during that time, a lot of people were actually like running away from restaurants. So I just dove right in and, decided to follow one of my craziest passions of cooking. And here I am today.
You make the best salsa in Miami, hands down.
Yes. Mango mama for life.
Talk to me about your time at FIU and what role your experience there played when you were kind of jumpstarting your career initially.
Yeah, so it's funny. I originally started at FIU straight out of high school in the architecture program, and that's when I quickly learned that I did not want to become an architect at all. However, I discovered that I really love to create. I love to connect with people and make visions come to life. So that's sort of what led me into hospitality. And I fell in love with the hospitality program there. I think the culinary courses there were a lot of like the first intro that I had to professional cooking, and the teachers were amazing. And so that's sort of where I started my career in event planning and catering and working in hospitality.
I mean, you graduated from an incredible program, and top 10 in the country, really just incredible partnerships in the community. So, big shout out to FIU Hospitality for
They're
sure.
the best, yeah.
What are some lessons, some main takeaways from competitive cooking? We have to move into that part of that conversation now, right? You were just on an internationally widely known, incredibly successful TV show with probably one of the most recognizable chefs ever. What are the lessons that you learned from that experience?
I mean, it was tough. Everything that you see on the show, it's 100% real. I mean, we are not told what you're going into every single day. You just wake up and just have to like go for it. But that experience absolutely changed my life. And I mean, this industry is tough. You know, it can be brutal. The hours are long. The environment can be intense. So I think it's really important to stay focused and to remember why it is that you are getting up every day and going to work or going to pursue your dreams. I think it can be a little bit easy to get lost in this industry if you don't stay focused and remind yourself every single day, what is your purpose, right? Like, I mean, in my case, I know that my purpose is to build something that impacts people, which, you know, eventually is going to be a restaurant one day and a place where I can create and connect with others. So staying focused and remembering why it is that you are going through, you know, the struggle phase, which is essentially never going to end, right? But remembering your purpose is really important.
Something I love about you is you get that food brings people together. And that's kind of my reason for, going out to eat with friends all the time, getting groups together. I mean, we leave our disagreements at the door, right? Whenever we walk into a restaurant and have an incredible experience. So I think that's so special.
Yeah.
Um, what advice do you have for up and coming chefs as well as future restaurant owners like myself, maybe, in accomplishing their goals and pursuing their dreams?
I would say don't stop. Just keep going. I mean, push yourself and fail and fail and fail and fail every single day. Because failing is inevitable. I mean, you're gonna fail no matter what. I think it's what do you do with that failure, those lessons? How do you bounce back? What do you make from it? Because I am a strong believer that in this planet, there are only two types of people. There are people that just do it, and then there are people that want to do it, but are afraid to take the risk, right? So I think being a risk taker and being willing to like humble yourself to be able to fail and to learn and to grow is extremely important. And not just in this industry, but really in any kind of career that you're building.
That's awesome. As a Peruvian American, you incorporate a lot of that background into your cuisine. Do you travel typically? Do you travel a lot to Peru to kind of find new influences and new inspirations?
I try to, yeah. I was just there. So my dad moved back there. He lives there. I have a lot of family that lives there. So going back there feels like a home away from home, of course. But I do find a lot of inspiration with the food that, I grew up eating, because I feel like that was the easiest way for me to connect with that side of my background, was always through the food. So that by far is, what inspires me every day, and the flavors that I grew up eating, or memories that I had with my grandma or my mom cooking, and being able to share that and express that in a way that is my own and maybe, more elevated or artistic, and being able to express that to other people is extremely satisfying for me.
Tell me a little bit about your take on the Miami culinary scene, down here in South Florida. Obviously, very diverse. Would you say it's gotten even more diverse in the last couple of years, where we're seeing just different kinds of cultures coming down? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, Miami's culinary scene is on fire right now. I mean, this is where it's at. There are restaurants opening left and right. I mean, people moving down here. I think obviously having Michelin coming down finally and giving stars and recognitions to restaurants has been huge. However, I think that during this time, it's really important for locals to also be able to thrive and to participate in this growth and this exciting movement that's happening in culinary in Miami right now.
Very cool. Carmen, what's next for you? Please plug your pop-up. I know I mentioned it in the bio, but tell us more. What's going on there?
Yes, so my partner and I, we are at Zay's. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Zay's, but it's a music and concert venue in Little Haiti. So I have a food stand there called Atomica Roots. We're there every Friday, sometimes Thursdays and other days of the weekend, depending what events they have. But Fridays is our resident day. So anybody that's free next Friday, come by and eat with us. And if you want to check out our Instagram page, Atomica Roots, to figure out what, events and pop-ups we have coming next. We have a lot of exciting things happening in June, so it's going to be fun.
Awesome. I love it. I've been, it's excellent. Highly recommend everyone here to go visit our good friend Carmen Ibarra over there. And, just round of applause to you, man. This is really great. You're doing great stuff. Keep it up. And yeah, we hope to see you continue succeeding,
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you again, Leo, for that great kickoff. Carmen, thank you so much for being able to spend some time with us this morning. I've definitely taken note of Atomica Roots. I'll definitely try to see if I can take a minute and head on over there. You said it was in North Miami, if I'm not mistaken?
Little Haiti.
Gotcha. Little Haiti. Gotcha. So that's more in the northern, not North Miami, but northern area. So gotcha.
Right.
Thank you so much for sharing that insight. And I think a great way that all of us can really benefit from this is taking some time to go out and meet some fellow Panthers, perhaps joining in some different networking opportunities over at that location. And that's what we're going to be talking about here today in our first panel session of our GrowthCon conference. So good morning, Panthers. My name is Jose David Melendez, or JD for short. Please call me JD. And I'm going to be serving as the moderator for this panel that we have here, Networking and Professional Development. So I am joined by a group of young professionals here, also graduates from FIU, and I'm looking forward to be able to learn more about what their journey has looked like and just getting some insights and some good nuggets of wisdom from how their professional journey has been shaped, not only through their experiences, through our FIU experiences, but also how networking has played a big role in that too. So for our speakers, if you can all start us off by just introducing yourselves to our participants today, that'd be fantastic. What I'm thinking of is for you all to share your name, a snippet of what your FIU experience looked like, and giving us some more insight on where you all are today in your professional journeys. I'm going to go about it through what I see on my screen. So I do have Malcolm first. Malcolm, are you good to kick us off?
Absolutely. Good morning. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Malcolm Jones, I graduated from FIU in 2018 with my Master's of Architecture. And my journey through FIU, so started in 2011. The architecture program is actually a master's based program. So it's a 4+2 or a 4+1, depending on what journey you take. Mine was a little bit more like a 4+3.5, but that's okay. We got through it. While I was at FIU, being an architecture student, most people are of the mindset that architects or architecture students don't have time to do anything else, which is actually true. But I'm the type of person like to force things to work. So I ended up joining a fraternity while I was there. I volunteered in a lot of organizations while I was at FIU as well. And by the grace of God, I still managed to graduate with my master's. Today, I am a licensed architect. I have my own practice called MAJ, or MAJ is my initials, Architecture and Design. I also have a nonprofit, which you can see here, that I operate here in Orlando called Black Architects in the Making Orlando, which I had to shout out Mr. Craig Akar, who's an architect in Miami, who actually started BAM Miami, and then I brought it to Orlando, where we're engaging with a lot of middle school and high school students with the hopes of increasing the diversity within architecture. And outside of that, I'm involved in a myriad of organizations that focus on architecture around the Orlando area. So that's me.
Awesome. Thank you, Malcolm. Next
Thank you.
up on my screen, I see Melissa. Melissa, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Malcolm, for that introduction. My name is Melissa Cancio, and I am the Executive Director of Chamber South. Just to kind of give a snippet, I was very involved at Florida International University. I did practically anything you can think of, and I really enjoyed my time, so we'll get into that a little bit later. But I got my bachelor's in public relations, advertising, and applied communications, and then I got my MBA in the greater Chicago area. And so right now I'm working with the Chamber of Commerce, and we pretty much do what this panel will be about. It's a lot of networking and connecting with people. And so I'm really excited to be here, and I'm excited to be part of this panel. Thank you so much, JD.
Very welcome. Thank you, Melissa. And next up on my view, I see Daniel. Daniel, go ahead.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Daniel Torrens. A little bit about me is I was born in Dominican Republic. My dad's Cuban, my mom's Colombian, so go Latinos. I had the good pleasure of going to FIU, started in 2010, where I studied international business, marketing, and sales. Very similar to Melissa, I got involved into everything, including AK Psi, where I see my brother Richard. Hey, Richard. Did AK Psi, student government, AMA, just wanted to try a bunch of different experiences to really understand what I wanted to do in business. So after a lot of experiences in student organizations, doing a lot of internships, I landed in HR technology, where I've been in the last 10 years. So I've been in the HR tech space at SAP and Workday, and really focusing on helping organizations find the best talent, develop the best talent, promote the best talent, track their performance, and then also pay the best talent. So that's where I've spent a lot of the time. Organizations right now are really focused on developing their people soft skills. You guys may have heard soft skills are becoming the new hard skills. So throughout today's conversation, I'll really be talking about some of the soft skills that organizations are looking for their leaders to develop and where you can start. Looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Fantastic. And then closing us off here on this panel, we do have Richard. Richard, when you are ready, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Jose. My name is Richard Lopez. I'm a proud FIU alumni. I have my undergraduate degree in international business and speech communication. And then later on, I was part of the inaugural downtown MBA program at FIU. I also was very involved as a student. I did everything from student programming council, president of AK Psi, as Daniel mentioned. And I really started my career at FIU with the FIU South Beach Wine and Food Festival program by Food Network. And that was just an amazing opportunity to work with the hospitality program, which is really gave me a lot of abilities to network. I worked with Norwegian Cruise Line, Pepsi, and I had the pleasure of upskilling a big workforce of COVID-19 frontline workers in California, where I am now. And I really was able to support them through training and development efforts. And that's really the space that I'm in now as the Chief Learning Officer for Founder Fuego. It's a bilingual hub for entrepreneurs. We're in 18 countries. And we have our Founder Fuel newsletter, which is where we disseminate a lot of that training to those that want to start their own company. In addition to that, I have my own consulting practice. So I do talent, recruiting, and creative design. I'm excited to be here with all of you. FIU have a very special place in my heart, and networking is a big reason why I'm here today. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you all so much again. So lots of different journeys here, lots of different pathways that we're seeing from the FIU community to now. So really excited to dive into, again, snippets of what these journeys have looked like for you all. And I'll go ahead and get started by trying to put a little bit of a definition or visual to what this idea of networking is. So we'll use that as our first question for you all. So when it comes to networking, what does that look like for you all? And are there any practices or strategies that you all follow that works best for you when it comes to networking? So with that question, I would like to kind of go back to that original order that we had in our intros. Malcolm, would you be able to get us going with that question?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So when it comes to networking for me, it just starts with creating a personal connection, to be very honest. you never know the individuals that you're going to engage with, what they do, what they have to offer, what they're about, right? And I personally, I feel like there's a disingenuous uh, element to networking sometimes when people approach it with the intention of only trying to gain, right? And so, in my opinion, it's much more advantageous if you come to a person, introduce yourself, keep it very light and simple, and just let the conversation flow, right? Understand the individual that you're engaging with. Share about yourself, right? Don't be afraid to just say who you are, what your interests are, and then just see where the world takes you. Of course, there absolutely is some intentionality behind, the type of events you go to, right? Obviously, if you, i.e. for myself as an architect, if I'm putting myself in spaces that other architects or rather my clients that I would like to be, which won't be architects, right? So spaces where people in real estate may be, or developers or things of that nature, right? But once I get there, right, once I kind of targeted my audience, at that point, it's just a matter of just being personable, right, and being able to connect. So that'd be my approach.
Got it. Thank you so much for that. Next up, Melissa.
I relate so much to that. So being born and raised in Miami, I think there's a different feel for how you're approaching someone. And when it comes to that, I think the first step is always showing up, being that person in the room, making sure you're getting there maybe a little bit earlier, just to kind of get a feel for what you're doing and where you want to kind of go into. I think one of the biggest secrets for me, which we're already starting with secret sharing, I am very competitive with myself in terms of wanting to meet new people, but making it so that there is a purpose. And so I kind of go in with, like, before an event, I'll make like a little bingo scorecard, and I'll go in and be like, okay, I want to meet this type of person, or this type of whatever they're studying, or where they're kind of at, so that when I go in and introduce myself and connect with other people, I kind of fill out that bingo scorecard. And then that way it goes into the follow-up phase. So there's a few different things into when you're showing up, you're making sure that you're having that personable connection, like Malcolm said, and then being able to follow up and making sure that the connection lasts and you're building that relationship. So I think that has been truly worked wondrous for me.
Got it. I'm already taking great notes already from this conversation. So thank you both so much kicking us off with that. Daniel, you're up next.
Yeah, I think in addition to what Malcolm and Melissa shared, I typically will shift my narrative when it comes to networking, and I'll say, okay, who am I here to serve? And that kind of takes the pressure off of me and what my intentions are and what I'm trying to get out of the event. Sure, we all want to get things done in networking events, but I think it's also an opportunity to help others. And so I think before going into a networking event, I might feel a little anxious, or I might feel pressured. Am I going to see ROI out of this? And I'll just be like, wait a minute, let me take a step back. Who am I actually here to meet? Who am I actually here to serve? Who can I help? And so in those conversations, what that looks like is introducing yourself and listening. Let the other person do more talking, ask questions, and find opportunities to help others. And I think when you do that, the doors just kind of open up for other people to help you. And so there's been a lot of networking events where, yes, I wanted certain things to happen, but I've helped more. But then later down the road, that gift has come back in return. And so that's really the approach that I try to take in a lot of networking events. It always doesn't always go perfectly, but I always try to remind myself that. And to Malcolm's point, there is so much opportunities to network. You really, really want to be intentional about the spaces that you are going to. I think in the beginning, if you're practicing, sure, go out to network just to network. But as you do some self-reflection, as you find out what your interests, your passions, what your aspirations are, start finding those environments that align to those things so that you can drive your conversations into those directions.
Alrighty, and then Richard, take us home there.
Well, for a lot of young alumni, they might be looking for work, and that's a major motivator to go to networking events. I think networking beats not working any day. So just going out there and talking to people, a lot of these events have a purpose. So even just starting the conversation with what brought them there today could be such an amazing opportunity to really have a connection with somebody that they've never met before. So by understanding what they care about, then you can really have more of a robust conversation, and you'll never know where that conversation goes. As Malcolm said, I think it's really important to just be there, be present, and have a genuine conversation, and you never know where that may take you.
Got it. Thank you all so much with that. So I know that we've been talking a little bit about that physical aspect of networking and being able to interact with people in those physical spaces. But I think a good segue now is to talk about those digital spaces, specifically social media, right? Zoom, these technologies that we have now that are more advanced in our days. So for you all now, can you all guide us on how's your approach been with these digital spaces when it comes to networking, professional development, anything else that helps you be a better professional in a sense? And we can talk about the LinkedIns of the world. We can talk about Zoom conferences, whatever examples you want to give. But how do you all take those digital spaces and how do you all use those for networking and professional growth? Malcolm, we'll start again with you.
So you ready? So I have actually a very perfect example of what that looks like. Back in 2022, I was working at my firm. I had already set in my mind that I was getting ready to transition out because I wanted to go off on my own. And I ended up getting a message on my LinkedIn page from a nonprofit called Pathlight Homes, and they service homeless individuals here in the Orlando area. I went and read the message. It was actually from the CEO of the foundation, and they were looking for an architect to work on a project that was being funded by the city. So I brought it to my firm at the time, and I said, hey, here's a project. They want to do it. A lot of architecture firms will unfortunately shy away from nonprofit work just because they don't equate it to dollars right often. But my boss let me go ahead and follow through on it. Fast forward, myself and one other colleague worked on it. We did a wonderful job. I called the president one day of the organization and say, hey, I just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm getting ready to leave my firm in about a week or so. And I just want to let you know that you're going to be in good hands with my colleague. And, I'm leaving. And she said, like, no, we don't, like, we want to work with you. Like, don't leave. And I said, sorry, I have to go. And she said, well, listen, we have this project and 4 others. If you want them, they're all yours. And so I walked out the door with 5 projects under my belt, right? And that was because they randomly found me one day through LinkedIn, plus our website for our nonprofit was in order, right? So all these virtual spaces were essentially kind of working in harmony with one another in their pursuit of looking for an architect, and they came across my page, right? And so that's what I mean by stay ready, right? I didn't know that was coming. It was a blessing that it did come in the time that it came, and it worked out beautifully. And then even further along with, your meetings, I love face-to-face meetings. I would grab coffee or lunch with anybody, but I don't hesitate to take a Zoom conference call either, right? And so those work just as well for me. So I just try to make myself as available as I possibly can, obviously within reason. But whatever platforms are available for me to engage with people, then I'm gonna pursue it. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Melissa?
I think it's interesting that even after COVID now, there's been the opportunity to even engage virtually and in person. So kind of going into that mindset, making sure that I've been able to connect with so many people from social media to the real world. And I feel like it's become such a safe space to do that. And so in connecting with especially FIU alumni, I've connected with so many people that work in a certain area and I didn't realize they actually went to FIU. So when I met them, it just felt like I was a little bit more comfortable because they were in a space that I had also been in when I was an undergrad. So kind of going into that, making sure that we're able to reflect on what we want to do. Social media does take a toll sometimes into how you portray yourself or how you want other people to perceive you. And so just having the ability to feel comfortable in this is how I want to share my story. And once you kind of go into that social media space, there's so many platforms that we work with that there's so many different ways to even share that. And I think especially with the chamber now, we've been able to dabble on different platforms. and having people share their story and share why they feel valued in their businesses or they feel valued in their day-to-day lives. And so kind of building on, I know Daniel mentioned it earlier, and just making sure that everyone kind of feels that they're in that space and that they feel welcome and you want to help and figure out what you can best do to serve them.
Got it. Thank you, Melissa. Daniel?
Yeah, so I think my answer will be crafted to the younger alumni. And when I reflect on when I had just started in the corporate world, I used a lot of the platforms to do what's called, like, what I now later learned was called social listening. And so I first had to understand what I wanted to learn, what did I want to level up in, and what types of skills did I want to acquire, what types of groups did I want to penetrate. And so I think social media really allows you to take your interest and your intentions and then find the groups, the spaces, even just webinars where people are talking about these things. And you're able to read articles, you're able to join webinars, you're able to see what the conversation is like. And I would encourage everybody to start joining some of those, right? And I think through that, you listen, you learn, you engage, and then you have something to reach out with, right? I spent a lot of my career in sales, and that's what I would do with a lot of my prospects and customers. They're getting bombarded by all of our competitors, right? And everyone's asking for time, asking for a meeting, pitching the demo. What I found to be successful was first understanding, where was this CHRO involved? Where were they speaking? What did they care about? What webinars did they join? And I would listen to challenges that they said that their organization was having, so that when I specifically reached out, I would reference that I sat through that webinar. I would reference that I understood their challenges, and we have another customer that had those similar challenges that we can connect them to. And so I think, don't just network to network. I think everyone can do it. And it's kind of the wild, wild west. Sometimes it will work and sometimes it won't. But over the years, as you craft this skill, really be intentional about the groups that, again, you want to be part of on these digital platforms, and even allow the algorithms to help you. Because even on Instagram, now that I've figured out where I want to take my next career, Instagram, after looking at a couple of different business pages, will start recommending similar business pages. So now you even understand more players within that space. So now algorithms are even able to help us kind of further our research and that reach into the directions that we're trying to go. So again, start with social listening, lead with your curiosity, but again, have that strong intention.
Got it. Thank you. And now, Richard.
I think social presence is so important. And that's something that if you don't have an active account, you want to create one, because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs that once they start to create their business, their service, they're behind the ball. They don't have a business page. They don't have a documentation of where they were. We vet a lot of these things. LinkedIn is really important. I think it's one of those places where they'll vet you for a grant or for a job. A lot of recruiters use LinkedIn Recruiter Lite. So a lot of these tools are at your disposal. And one of the reasons why I was able to build a larger following is because I had a marketing teacher at FIU that told me, you got to get on this now. And since then, it's a concentrated effort of trying to make those connections, reaching out to people. And a lot of times I tell people, if you're thinking about somebody, you're looking at their page, talk to them, reach out. Why were you interested in their page? Do you have a pre-existing relationship with them? They were a classmate or schoolmate. Cheer them on. Sometimes being the best influencer is also being the best follower. So as Daniel mentioned, you want to follow people that interest you, that are doing the things that you want to do, and don't be afraid to reach out.
Got it. Lots of great nuggets here. I'm seeing some good engagement in the chat. I'm seeing some great questions being asked. It definitely sounds like there's a lot of interest, not only on the physical side of networking, but also on that digital side. So really just to make sure to quickly summarize some of the points here, really make sure that you all are taking time to be intentional in your approaches, follow and listen to the types of platforms that you all want to be plugged into, because you never know how those connections will be able to segue into a future role, into a future relationship, or even a future coffee, right? So definitely just make sure that you all are being intentional with how you're crafting some of your digital spaces or even your personal brand. If you all feel like you want further assistance in crafting that personal brand or crafting the different ways that you all can enter those spaces, FIU Alumni is pushing out a mentorship platform. We will be talking more about that later, but I just wanted to give you all that very brief segue into that so that you all can start marinating on the mentorship program that FIU Alumni is going to be putting out for everyone to really benefit from. And I think a good thing to also reiterate here is we've talked a lot about crafting our spaces, whether it's personalizing or really listening to the type of pages we want to follow. But I think another thing that's important to really craft and take time with is our personal brand, the type of message we want professionals, ourselves, and others to perceive us with. So for our panelists here, can you all talk a little bit more about how do you craft your personal brand, and what are some tricks of the trades that you've identified that have really helped you just make sure that your message and your story is shared in the way that you want it to be crafted? Malcolm, are you good to start us off again with that?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So, my personal brand is a one that's not necessarily in the realm of how my logo or my website is structured, things like that. My personal brand is more so the approach that I take when conducting business. And so I know I've been pulling out personal stories, but I guess it's the easiest way for me to kind of convey these things, right? But yesterday I had a phone call from a past client, or what had been a previous client. And in the midst of our conversation, he was telling me that he finally found an architect to help him out with something, because I wasn't licensed at the time. And he needed a GC to build a house here in Florida. He's in New York. He said, but the reason why he called me back and he wanted to touch base with me again and wanted to figure out something else that we could do together is because he said in all his years of doing work of this nature, he's never had anybody give me back every single dollar that I gave them without hesitation, right? So because I wasn't able to perform the work, the service that I said I would be able to perform, I gave him back every dollar that he gave me, regardless of what time I spent, because I knew that I wasn't able to fulfill the service. And that's just me. I'm not saying that's something that everybody needs to do or how you should operate, but that's my philosophy when conducting business, within reason, of course, right? So if I know that it just I wasn't the strongest at the plate, up to bat that day or in that instance, I'm not going to fight you tooth and nail to say, no, I deserve X, Y, and Z. No, you deserve back what you gave me because you didn't get what you asked for. And so when it comes to branding, I would say that is a staple that I want to make sure that transcends, just my name, but all my business endeavors as a whole, to know that I am a genuine stand-up individual, that when it comes to business dealings, that I'm never going to do anything to try to take advantage or get over, and so that would be my approach to branding. I'm not the best at graphic design or anything like that. So I let other people figure out the graphic brands for me, and make me look good on the computer and whatnot. So, but yeah.
Got it. Sounds like a lot of connecting that character into the space. Gotcha. Thank you, Malcolm. Next up, Melissa.
Thank you. I know especially with my current role being the youngest executive director, it kind of sets a tone to all the expectations everyone has of you. And so when building my personal brand, it's a lot of what my strong suit is the relationship building portion. And so I've always grown. My mom has been in the networking field a lot. She's in banking, not in networking per se, but it's been more so following her lead and kind of making sure that we're connecting with all kinds of people. I think since I was younger, especially in FIU, I made sure to kind of have that relationship building even more so in the professional aspect. And so kind of bringing that in, it set me apart from wanting to be that executive director role in the chamber space. So just throughout my role and throughout my time, I feel like I've made progress towards going into the different spaces. And I love that now FIU is bringing in that mentorship piece. I've wanted to create that in so many areas, but in turn of finding people who want to take part in something like that, it no one really knows where to start. And so I think that in that aspect, it's making sure that obviously everyone has pretty much the same goal, the same mindset. You surround yourself with people who have that like-minded piece. And so going into that, I feel like I've been able to work around the relationship building with so many different people. And when it comes to that, you meet people who want to introduce you to more people. So at the end of the day, you're going to create your network somewhere, somehow. And I feel like there's always someone willing to help you in that sense. So just kind of bringing in that be yourself personality, having that humility, making sure that you're listening and just absorbing everything. It's when you start a job, you are a sponge and you're absorbing everything. You're able to mold yourself into what you think you want to be for the future, or having someone help you kind of navigate that in that way. So being the leader that your younger self essentially would have thanked you for.
All right, thank you, Melissa. Next up, Daniel.
Yeah, so I'll answer this from like a corporate perspective because that's where I did my personal branding. And so when I joined SAP, I was straight out of FIU. I felt like I was learning Chinese because I didn't really have a technology background, and this organization was 120,000 people, large globally. So when I joined, I knew immediately that I wanted to be in the HR tech space. We have thousands of solutions, but I knew I wanted to be in HR tech, and I needed to navigate my career in that direction. And so I really had to understand what my passion was and put a story around that. I really had to understand what my strengths were from my past experiences, and really, to the best of my ability, set some goals of what roles within the HR tech space I wanted to land into. And I remember just creating slides just to kind of talk about those three points and start to schedule networking calls across the organization. Even though I already had a role in it, I knew that that was a stepping stone to another role. And so I think having networking calls where you can share a little bit of your heart with people, right? Like, this is who I am. This is what I've learned I'm passionate about. Here's why this is important to me. I can combine my passion points with these strengths and help the organization in this direction. And that simple conversation, because very few people are having that conversation in corporate America, makes you stand out. So when opportunity comes, people are going to be like, wait a minute, I remember my conversation with Daniel. He would be great for this experience. He would be great for this opportunity. He would be great for this new role. And so I'm constantly finding myself, yes, learning about the other person and doing everything we talked, but making sure that you're also finding that opportunity to what I call share your heart with people. Who are you? What are you passionate about? And that passion is always going to sell you. And that becomes your personal brand. People are like, oh, you're like super passionate about HR technology and people. It sounds nerdy, but once you've done your rounds, that's what people will know you for.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. And now, Richard.
I believe that the brand is your story. The brand is your story. So you have so many creative ways to do that. Maybe graphic design is not your thing. You have text, you have video. Everything's at our disposal right now to have an amazing brand. Businesses have brands. Your personal brand is your personal story and how you're working through that career. I mean, you have the best backdrop of all time with FIU because you have a most beautiful campus. You know, one of the things that I have in my career that I'm so thankful for is I was working for the South Beach Wine and Food Festival. What amazing opportunities were there for pictures, showcasing, and really just telling people your story. You know, you're not need to make it over the top. It's just showing people that you're there in those places and spaces, who you're connecting to, tagging those individuals, you know, and creating that ability to utilize those moments as stepping points to have conversations with people. And I think that's so important to have, is just that ability to connect with somebody because they saw something you said or they saw a picture that you posted, and that can cause a huge emotional connection that can really create for amazing relationships.
I love it. Thank you all so much for being to give us some insights too about how your own stories and how your own development relates to your personal brand. I feel like we were all able to really learn a lot more about you all through this question. So we do thank you all for your vulnerability and being able to allow us just more insight into who you are as people and as professionals, because I really do feel like these stories that we carry with us, they make us unique, and they definitely carry with us into our professional journey. So thank you for that. We do have a question that we want to acknowledge from our general audience here. Diana, I'll bring you in to share that question.
Thank you, JD, and thank you. So John Cervera, thank you for your question. John is, he's saying that he finds networking more successful when you feel comfortable, and for him, that tends to be when he's having fun and enjoying the event he's at. He wants to know if the panelists agree with this, and also if people should treat these networking events or events that you go to where you meet other professionals as an extension of your job. Anyone in the panel that wants to jump in. And we got a second question as well, if you want to speak a little bit about this, and that's networking through LinkedIn. And often those two things could be combined. So we'd love to hear your thoughts.
I would say, yeah, I mean, I think everything that you kind of do out in the world could essentially be an extension of your job. But it doesn't mean it doesn't have to be fun, right? I go to networking events all the time, and if there's drinks available, I'm going to get a drink. And you know, just you kind of just feel out the atmosphere and the vibe of what's going on, right? But of course, you conduct yourself in a manner that, if just imagine if I'm being recorded right now and then this gets put out to the world, what will I look like a year from now, right? Will I be able to still maintain my current status and position and things of that nature? But that doesn't mean you can't enjoy yourself and have fun. So I would just say, yeah, always carry yourself as though you have the next big opportunity right around the corner, but it doesn't mean you have to walk on eggshells.
I think we're all wired for connection. I think just as humans, we all love to connect with others. I think there's like something that happens in the brain. I'm not a scientist, but I know that for a fact. And so not only is it an extension of your job, it's just you doing life, right? And so I think when you are able to, I almost hate the word networking, right? Because it has such a stigma to it. But when you're able to look past like what the social construct or what the other words that are tied to that word, and you're just showing up to say, look, I'm here to learn, I'm here to listen, I'm here to add value, I'm here to have fun, right? We're going to work a lot of hours. Make the decision that you're going to have fun. That's sometimes just a personal decision by you just saying, I'm going to have fun today, and letting kind of the chips fall where they fall, and just look at this as just you doing life. Don't look at it attached to a job, a title. Look at it as, this is just me doing life.
I think that also comes with the growth spurt of the root of being in college. Like I was in a Greek organization, I was very involved with school. And so being able to kind of outsource where you're comfortable, where you find your safe space, where you think that that's a space that you just want to be more a part of. I mean, networking or even not networking, I know Daniel, I'm trying to not use the word. Regardless of where you are, you're making a connection with someone, whether it be with someone else or yourself. You're learning about who you want to be and who you want to portray in the professional world. But I feel like you're not living life unless you're having fun. So be happy, do what you want to do, and just always make sure that you shed that positive light, because a lot of, whether someone's having a bad day or not, your smile will brighten up either yourself or someone else's. So I think, yes, you should have fun while you're doing things, but make sure that it's according to what you want to portray. And then making sure that even if you maybe perhaps didn't do it yourself when you were in college, advise someone, hey, this is your time. College is a time to plant your roots, making sure that you're getting involved, doing your different organizations that you can come up with, and building upon what that looks like in the professional life.
I think looking back on my career, some of the times I've had the most fun was the times I felt that I was the most successful as well. You have to enjoy what you're doing if you choose to take that path. So when you're at a networking event, I make the majority of my contacts probably where the food is, because that's my love language and that's how I communicate. So you'll find people that have the same passions as you. You'll find people that have similar connections as you when you just do the things you do that you enjoy. So when you're at an event, I think it's really important just to be yourself, to be genuine. You know when someone's just talking to you because they just want to give you their business card, and you know someone who's talking to you because you're just sharing in that moment of, wow, that tasted so good, or this is a great place, or I love this song. And those are sometimes those entry points. Those might be the places and spaces where you make your next connection versus you focused on what that connection is going to be. Just let that happen naturally and just take that time to have fun at these events. I think that's important.
Oh, great insight, y'all. And I also did want to connect this to the digital side of things on LinkedIn too. So to give you all insight, I actually was able to land my current role through LinkedIn networking. And I did that by just having fun and just taking joy in that process of building out my platform, reaching out to folks, and just striking up conversation as I could, right? I kind of remember back to our keynote speaker saying sometimes you have to fail, sometimes you have to keep trying. You might get some no's before you get some yeses. You just have to keep going. And so that kind of is like how I was able to resonate with the question of how do you network on LinkedIn, but also how do you have fun with what you're doing, whether it is a networking event or whether it is connecting with people over the food line or just sharing those stories that you all resonate with. Just take a lot of joy and fun into what you're doing, and that positive energy is going to resonate and feel out onto other folks. So as I was going to the process of building out my platform, I just struck up conversations with people that I really wanted to connect with. Sometimes I got ignored, sometimes I got some responses back and some great conversations happen. So you never really know where that joy and that positive intention will take you. So definitely just have fun with what you do, and you never know where that can carry you with. So I think all of these points are connecting really nicely. I think all of the words, all of the stories are really resonating with not just us as panelists here, but also our general audience too. So I think everyone is really, really enjoying the energy that we are bringing when it comes to this idea of connection, growing as professionals, and really taking pride and joy in what we're doing. So we are coming into the final points of our panel for today. For my team here, I just wanted to see if you all had any parting words for all of our attendees when it comes to either the side of networking or when it comes to growing as professionals. Are there any things that you want to leave our attendees with as they continue on with their journeys?
Sure, I'll go ahead and add something. I think now being 10 years into the workforce, reflection is your superpower. I would say reflection and curiosity. Um, every couple of years, I sit down and I reflect on experiences, conversations, skills, and I really think about what did I enjoy the most, what brought my heart the most joy, what do I want to continue doing, what do I not want to do again. And so I believe that each of us have the answer of where we should take our careers, where we should spend our time developing. But if we got to get quiet, we got to get still, and we got to reflect, right? And so networking can be great, people could give you ideas, but at the end of the day, you got to go home to just you, turn down the noise, get out a pen and paper and start to reflect. And in those reflections, you will see those insights, and you could use those insights as a compass to really guide yourself to where you need to go. So that's the one thing I want to leave people with.
Anyone else?
Go ahead, Richard, please.
Thank you. I think you just got to put yourself out there. I think a lot of times we have a lot of this stress of like, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? Who am I going to be? And the answer is always be yourself. You know, go out there and just enjoy yourselves, enjoy the moments that you're making with people as you're there for a specific cause. Talk about those things that are important to you, and you'll find that they may be important to other people as well. So keep going out to these events, keep learning, and really that's how you thrive, is going out there and continuing to do something that may be a little bit out of your comfort zone, but you'll notice that there's a bunch of other people that are getting out of their comfort zones too.
I'll just say, don't be afraid to ask questions. nobody expects anybody to have the answer for everything, right? And oftentimes people are eager to share the information and the wealth of knowledge that they've developed over the years through their own experience, right? Especially if they're in a similar space as you, and you're coming up as a young individual trying to get to where they are, hopefully, or essentially surpass them at some point, who knows? But if you show that genuine interest in wanting to just tap into their wealth of knowledge, and it is, not trying to get anything from them particularly, or not necessarily trying to utilize them for their service or whatever, just get to know them and then ask them questions, and then you'll be very surprised by how quickly they'll want to kind of mind dump on you just everything that they have to offer, and then that essentially could develop into a wonderful relationship. That person can become a mentor or whatever the case may be. So always just be open to asking questions.
Awesome.
I think
And then,
sorry, Malcolm took all my bullet points, but
I'm sorry.
definitely. No, it's okay. Show up, ask questions, really get to know your community, and just build relationships. I know FIU has really been a huge pivotal point in that aspect. So giving back to FIU, like coming back and speaking to someone, like there's just so many ways, and obviously using your creative outlet, whether it be food or just having fun. I think that's really important in just building yourself and building your professional career.
fantastic. Thank you all so much. So with that, we are now going to be transitioning into our next panel session. But again, thank you all so much for our current panelists, Melissa, Malcolm, Daniel, Richard. The audience, everyone is just really thankful for your stories and your wisdom. We really do appreciate your time today. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. I just want to say also thank you to FIU alumni and the alumni, a young alumni. This, for me, about 2 years ago, I got connected with Alexandra Roll Call and had no idea I'd be kind of connecting with you all in this way. So I just want to say this has been a wonderful experience, and the work that you all are doing is amazing and top notch. So.
Thank you. Thank you all. There's definitely the proof of concept there. Before we kind of get started for the next panel, I just wanted to say thank you. That was definitely a very heartfelt panel. So thank you, Jose. Jose and I have been friends since high school. We've known each other for a decade. So there goes about building relationships and doing fun things together. And I want to thank all the panelists, Malcolm, Daniel, Melissa, and Richard. I think you guys hit the nail right on the head. So many golden nuggets. And I think now we can transition into how we're going to use that in the financial world. Everybody does a job to get paid. And I think when it comes to making money and kind of climbing the corporate ladder or starting a business, the most important thing is investing in yourself, right? Being prepared to invest in yourself. And I kind of just wanted to tie in a few things that a lot of our other panelists discussed. The first thing was, they mentioned that you have to go out there, be uncomfortable, ask questions, join communities, build relationships. You can't take all that action if you don't have that intention. So I agree with Danny that you have to take some steps back and do some self-discovery and understand who you are, what you like before you even go out there and do that. Because for me personally, I've always been networking. I graduated in 2018 in business. Come from a sales marketing background, but then I ended up in the financial world. And I currently operate a community in finance that's all about building relationships. So we help investors and founders with their businesses. And really what we offer is relationships. So I think this will tie in very nicely. And to, some of the panelists that also mentioned networking, I'm not a firm believer in that word either. I always believe in always be connecting. In the sales world, people always say always be closing, but I'm a firm believer that it's always about connecting. So you can be connecting at any time. So now transitioning into the panel, we have three amazing speakers. We have Jose Garcia, we have Charlemagne, and we have Anthony. They're going to be joining us and sharing kind of their experiences from, HR fields, from recruiting, and from the finance world to help all the students and fellow Panthers here today to be able to scale to that next level. So if you guys can just, introduce yourselves a little bit more, describe who you are, your background, and kind of, the value you're going to be bringing to some of these young alumni today. So Jose, do you want to start us off?
Pardon me. Here we go. Sure, Jimmy. Thanks. Good morning, everybody. Jose Garcia here, FIU class of 2012. At FIU, I studied finance, so I graduated from the College of Business. I was part of the Honors College. I also got very heavily involved. I found a lot of rewarding part of that, previous conversation, that self-reflection, right? I found a lot of joy in giving back and getting involved. So I got involved in quite a number of organizations, from my fraternity all the way through Student Government Association, through the Honors College, through you go down the list there. So I really found a nice, again, just hobby for me, and kind of that connecting experience. Post FIU, I proceeded to get an MBA from a Florida school just slightly a little bit north of us. And professionally, I work in finance, so I'm a wealth manager. My official title, I'll shorten it because it's kind of long, but senior investment manager at a Wells Fargo private bank. So I work with private clients meaning not corporations necessarily, right? But individual people, business owners, families, foundations, not-for-profits, et cetera. Have all that under the belt, and work with them and their investment portfolios, and really their entire financial picture. So something that I never thought I'd be doing as an undergraduate when I was going through the business school is something that I'm very much doing today, and thoroughly enjoying. Again, I feel like I'm giving back to people as I'm working with them, obviously still earning a living, right? But I feel like I'm very much giving back. I'm doing a service for people, for friends, for whoever. And point is that it's something that I really enjoy, and I always found the enjoyment in numbers as well. So I get to mix that all in, and again, working with the stock market, so really kind of different things. So I say all that to kind of wrap it into a bow and say, don't be afraid to kind of challenge yourself and look into different things. I tell you that today, coming at you 12 years after undergraduate career, because I went through like 4 different careers. So you kind of have to test some things out sometimes, and it's okay to change, and it's okay to, it doesn't matter. I know someone that's 50 years old that went back to law school, and from being a cop to become a lawyer. So it's never too late to change a career, follow your passions. And obviously you can do things responsibly. Responsibilities grow as you get older as well, right? Family or what have you. So you can balance all those things, but just, stay motivated, stay focused, find people around you. And I'll stop there. I'll keep talking. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Charmaine?
Just trying to get myself off mute. So yes, my name is Charlamagne Wathington. I'm currently a director of human resources at hospitality company. But to start off, I graduated from FIU in 2002. From the hospitality school, I actually have my bachelor's degree in hospitality management. I came out of the university and started off as an AGM for a Baymont Inns and Suites in Chicago. And then from there, I became a GM at a Marriott Fairfield Inn. So in that time period, I realized operations, maybe not so much. I like the people side of things. And so I got into human resources and did everything from recruiting, benefits, training, developed and written training, and all of those different things. I worked for the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin as their benefits manager for the entire property for a stint. And then I was a regional HR manager. I did cross over at some point from hospitality into the private sector, and I covered multiple states, everything from Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, and South Carolina. So, and I did that for about 4 years, living out of my suitcase practically. And then at some point I came back home and settled down for Westgate Resorts, which is where I currently work now. I have my master's degree in human resources, as well as a graduate certificate in business, and my SHRM certification, my SCP, Senior Certified Professional. So I have been doing human resources now for 20 plus years. So everything from benefit packages and just understanding the financial side, right, of hiring and making that decision. And I know sometimes I get employees that come to me and they're like, I don't know what to choose. Like, tell me which benefit to get. Like, I don't know. Should I sign up for 401k? Should I not? Should I take this medical plan or not? Like, just tell me which one I should do, right? And helping them to navigate that. I've found that that landscape, whether it's helping individuals professionally or just within my own family members and friends, it's a hard landscape to navigate, especially with the Medicare Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D, right? All the alphabet. So it can be a lot, but I'm really appreciative of everything FIU has been doing. I am also on the board for the Chaplain Hospitality School. I'm on the alumni board there and the chairperson for their professional development committee. So I'm definitely about giving back to FIU, even though I'm not locally in Miami anymore and here in Orlando. But I just love everything the university is doing, and I'm glad and privileged to be asked to be on the panel today.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I completely relate. I'm all the way in California and I still participate. I still find ways to give back. And, everyone attending today, it's a Saturday. And these are the little things that add on where you can be learning those concepts, learning those things to invest in yourself so that when you go out to the world, you're a lot more prepared. So thank you. Anthony?
Thank you, Jimmy, and thank you everybody else that's on the panel. It's a pleasure meeting you all. So I'm Anthony. I graduated from FIU back in 2013. And like Jose said, he had different careers throughout his, post-grad. I've had the same career post-grad, but had many different majors and switches throughout my my graduate career. Started college wanting to be a doctor, then a nurse, then didn't know, and then graduated with my bachelor's in marketing. So I was from the School of Business, and I was also heavily involved in the sales club that they have there. I worked at Nordstrom for like 5 years while I was in college, and I always knew I loved connecting with people and like helping them. And if I made commission off of it, I thought, okay, it's a win-win, right? So this is kind of where I ended up. Upon graduating, I got an offer with a recruiting agency that's down here, that's Miami based. And I worked for that recruiting agency for about 5.5 years. Recruiting agency life is pretty much a hybrid between recruiting and selling. Definitely like towards the end of my career there, my priorities kind of shifted. I wanted more of a work-life balance. I also really wanted to get more into the tech, scene. And that's how I found Wix. So I've been with Wix. It's a website creation platform. Most of you have probably like used it either in school or with hobbies or building like portfolios or whatever it may be. So it's a web creation tool. It's a publicly traded company. I lead all hiring in the Americas, so US, Canada, and South and Central. And then I also lead hiring globally. So for sales. So any sales position, we do a lot of hiring in EMEA, in Japan, and in the US. I lead these functions as well. So I'm excited to talk to you all a bit today about knowing your worth, negotiating your offer, the total package, because I feel like a big misconception with recent grads and just people in general is that like the base pay is the only thing that's negotiable or the most important thing. So yeah, I'm pumped to talk to you all, and thank you for having me.
We're very, very happy to have you here. Also part of the sales team at FIU, so we share that together. So I just wanted to kind of kick us off with a question for Anthony, actually, since you just finished, with your introduction. When entering the workforce, there are lots of questions about salary and benefits, right? So what advice would you give to those negotiating an offer? I know you mentioned sometimes we think that the base pay is the only thing negotiable, but there's a lot of other concepts to it. So also you constantly have to do that as you grow within the career in the company and the value that you bring. So what are some of those tips or advices that you can give to young professionals when negotiating, their deals or their packages? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think the first thing when you first start looking for a job, you have to do market research and you have to know your worth, right? In the US, new legislation has come out where in certain states, they're required to post job range, the salary ranges on every job description. For instance, in California, Colorado, and New York, every job posting will have a salary range. Most fully remote roles, every job posting will have a salary range because remote encompasses these other states, unless it says not in these states. So definitely know your worth, look up the jobs, look up the ranges and what companies have budgeted for these roles, right? And when they're asking you, hey, what are you looking for? You know, use this information that you have to your advantage. In addition to that, I really think that you need to understand kind of what's important to you, right? So you may have two offers, and one, the base pay may be a little less, but the other offer offers flexibility, or offers better healthcare, or offers perks and other things. This might also be like more enticing, right? So everybody has their own like priorities. I would definitely like think about it and list them out. And finally, I think it doesn't hurt to ask. I feel like early on in my career, when I did get offers, I was always kind of scared to negotiate, because I would think in my mind, oh no, if I negotiate, like they're gonna take this away from me. No, it doesn't hurt to ask. Sometimes you ask, you know, and you get what you want. Sometimes you have to get creative. So maybe there is no more additional budget, but we can ask for a few extra days of PTO, right? Or maybe it's 5 days working in office, and you could say, hey, I understand that we can't meet on the, you know, on the salary, but is there flexibility on the working in office? Maybe I can work 3 days or 2 days in office. So always try to get creative, think outside the box. Sign-on bonuses are also a thing too that a lot of companies offer. So yeah, there's different routes you could take, and I think it's important to understand before you go into the job market, or as you look at offers. It's important to just kind of think about what's your priority and what's most important, and then kind of take it from there.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask. Charlemagne?
Yeah, listen, Anthony hit on all the major points, right? So you didn't leave me much to add, Anthony, but what I will say from an HR perspective, because obviously I've been on the other side of the table, right? Where the person is negotiating with me for better. So what I would say with that is just be careful on how you come across, right? So you want to be confident, but you don't want to come across as cocky. Right. So as nobody wants somebody who comes to the table and it's like, yeah, you're going to pay me this. And if you don't pay me this, then, you know, see you later. The best thing you've ever met is walking out the door. Right. So you've got to kind of almost to Anthony's point, you almost need to sell yourself a little bit. I hope that doesn't come across too crazy, but you do need to kind of sell yourself. Like, why should I give you this amount? Right. So I've now just made you an offer with all the points that Anthony just mentioned, right? I already know what the market average is. I already know all these other things. I'm thinking about creatively, like what I can negotiate with you on. And you've got to make sure that whatever you're coming to the table with is what exactly it is that you are wanting, right? So if at the end of the day, it's not really about the pay, but it's more about the PTO days, it's more about the flexibility, that's what you need to negotiate. I can't tell you how many times people come to the negotiating table, they ask for something, and then you're like, okay, and you're going back and forth with them, and then you give it to them, and then they come out of the woodwork with something else, and like, well, that's not really what I wanted. What I really wanted was this. I was just trying to see if you would work with me. And it's like, okay, you know, ask me for what you want, right? So make sure that, again, as you're coming across, you're letting us know, why should we be giving you this amount? Is it because of your education? I have my master's, I have my doctorate, I have this license, I have this certification. Like, tell us what it is about you, why we should negotiate with you and give you this amount that you're asking for. And also be cognizant of what you're asking for, right? So if you go ahead and you throw out the low end of your number, your minimum, that you're like, okay, this is the minimum I'm going to take, what's the employer going to do? They're going to negotiate with you some more because they feel like there's some wiggle room and they don't want to give in to you and things like that, right? So go for a little bit more on the high end, knowing that they might come back with a counter offer to get you to what you really are looking for. Does that make sense? So I want to make sure that, you know, that is something, again, we're not asking you to go for the astronomical amount, right? But come in with a good, valid offer, knowing that they're not going to come back and say, sure, you got it. That's you asked for it and you got it. You know, that's a rare case, but just make sure that, again, you think about all those things and practice. Maybe, you know, if you have a friend or someone that you can just kind of talk those talking points through, because sometimes that's not a comfortable thing for some of us to have those type of conversations. So you might want to practice that, you know, hey, am I coming across a little bit too crass? Am I really nervous? Is my voice cracking? You know, those type of things. Even just talking it through one time with someone can give you that confidence you need going into the negotiation. So those are just some of the gems I think I'll drop today.
100%. It's clear communication, having that emotional intelligence, right? And there is an art to it. It's how you say it, but then the science of it, you know, whoever talks first loses, right? We've heard of that before in negotiating. And you have to understand what your value is and what you're bringing to the table and how much wiggle room you actually have, right? Are you bringing in money? Are you bringing in leadership? Are you bringing in, you know, processes that make the business more efficient? You got to be able to show that ROI. And you are the investment, right? So this company is investing in you. So what are you giving back to them that's going to make it worth them paying you more or giving you a better role or, to Anthony's point, some more PTO, right? Jose?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot to say about this. Both of the professionals in this space have spoken a wealth of knowledge. So I hope everyone was paying attention there. One thing I'll add, because I can keep adding, just, you know, value yourself. Don't overvalue yourself, right? Think highly of yourself, but don't go crazy on what you're expecting. You know, be reasonable, but also recognize that not everyone out there, I mean, we've all had scenarios, hopefully we've worked with great managers or work with great managers that have your best in mind, right? And it takes you kind of going through one that doesn't to realize, okay, I need to negotiate for myself. I do need to applaud myself. I do need to recognize myself. I do need to make these things known. So to Charlemagne's point, like, don't be afraid to speak on your accomplishments, on why you feel like you deserve XYZ, and, you know, be flexible. Sometimes you have to be able to walk away from the offer, or maybe figure out that there's something else out there, or you accept. And, you know, so there's a lot of navigating to do. But the one big point I want to highlight, and I'll leave this, is just I got some good advice about 10 years ago, and it was, if you can get 2 of the 3 of these things improved in a job, then it's worth a consideration, right? 3 of the 3, you could argue, great. Now, you know, 1 is time, so your time. 2 is your salary, right? The dollar figures. And 3 is your benefits. So that's, you know, like Anthony's mentioned, the PTO, et cetera. 401k matching, you could argue, is also salary, but whatnot. So all those 3 things are important. If you can improve 2 of the 3, you should consider that. So if you're working 60-hour weeks right now for a job that pays you a salary, and suddenly you can go into a 40-hour week that pays you the same, well, I'm really improving my quality of life, right? So there's some consideration there. Now you could say, hey, well, I'm going up $1,000 on my salary and everything else stays the same, or I get a little bit more benefits. Like, okay, yeah, you improved the salary aspect, but did you really improve it, right? So just something to consider. I always, whenever kind of evaluating that in my own personal life, I like to take those 3 and you kind of do a little crossboard and you say, okay, what's improved here? How much am I going up here? How much is this value? Now in the world of hybrid and remote work, right? How much is that worth to you? Is that worth 5,000? Is that worth 10,000? Is that worth 30,000? Are you willing to take a pay cut to work remotely? So there's a lot of things to consider there. And I know our younger peers, the Gen Z, are very much valuing how much time they have back in their pocket, and they can go out and travel and whatnot. So I know that, you know, depending on the generation as well and the responsibilities you have under your belt, different priorities take hold. So just don't be afraid to kind of weigh that out for yourself, and don't accept the first offer. That's always, you want to counter, right, to both of my peers' responses earlier. Thanks, Jimmy.
Out there, I was muted. Absolutely. And we keep going back to, you know, self-discovery, right? Kind of just understanding yourself and what is important to you. And then I kind of wanted to lead with this other question for you, Jose, since this is what you do on a daily, right? Like, what are some resources, or what do you suggest for young graduates that are kind of looking to start budgeting, start saving, start investing, you know, kind of just planning for those changes when they start having kids, start getting married, buying their first home? Like, what are some of the things that they can do now to start, you know, making sure that they are financially well prepared down the road?
Great question. So look, I think the sooner you start, the better. That's answer number 1. 2 is, I know we live in a world of digital media, and I'm actually going to promote that in a moment. But before I do that, I want to disclaimer: ChatGPT, YouTube, etc., cannot do certain things for you, right? So if you need legal document, you need a legal. There are certain things you can find on the internet for free, and there are certain things you want to pay an attorney for, right? a recruiter, you want to go through a recruiter for a reason. They negotiate for you. They can help you, right? Their best interest is to get you hired. So there are things you want to go through that. I'm not saying that to promote my own job. However, there are things that a professional in that world can do that perhaps you just don't know, right? One of my favorite quotes, you don't know what you don't know. So you can't do things if you don't know what's going on or what's out there. The US tax code is very intricate. There are so many ways in and out of it, and we can argue the ethics behind it or different things, but people paying 0% taxes or whatever the case. But there are things out there to your benefit that if you don't know them, you're just not taking advantage of them. So they're legal. There should be a lot of research done. Again, that now tying it back to ChatGPT or YouTube or whatever you want to use. Have conversations with friends, find mentors, start early, right? So a 401k is huge. That's free money for your retirement, obviously. I like to look at things as two parts of one fence, I guess. One is the fence you can kind of touch today, the money you can touch today, and the other is the fence that you can't really see until you're retired. So you don't want to put so much in the retirement fence that if God forbid you die at 50, you don't get to ever use that money. And you also don't want to have so much in your personal, which is fine to have it on this side. But if all you're doing is spending, then guess what? You're not putting away for retirement, and you're also not, putting away for rainy days. So stat out there that like 1 in every 2 Americans doesn't have $500 in savings, right? Like if something were to happen today, they cannot afford a $500, drop in the bucket for something. You have to replace your tires, you get a ticket, I don't know, family emergency, something happens, they don't have that money. Okay. If you're 22 and you're listening to this, it's okay. Right. But if you're, older than that, or even at 22, if you have a job, you should be able to save, right? You should have something out there. So it's tough because it's, you need the economy to move and you need to spend money and all that stuff, but you don't need to have a luxury car if you're making $40,000 a year, right? Or even if you're making $150,000 a year, you don't need to have a luxury car. So you need to evaluate that based on your priorities. And listen, it's okay if you want to spend as it comes in as well, but just know that when emergencies happen, you don't have that. So that's really the priority. It's a 401k, I would say. Once you start elevating your income, you can start thinking about different things, IRAs and everything else. But put away for a rainy day, keep some in your pocket now so that you can have easy access to. And obviously you need to enjoy your life. So you need to have that as well.
Yeah, I mean, knowledge is power, right? SEC.gov, you can go and find the glossary there and look up every single thing there for free. You can go to investopedia.com and learn different ways of managing budgets, right? And to your point, I think that everyone has different priorities, but everyone should be saving, investing, and investing in yourself is going to give you the best yield, right? That return. So, Charlamagne, you want to answer that question as well?
Yeah, so just like Jose mentioned, right? So there's a lot of different ways for budgets, and I get a lot of my younger team members or employees that come to me sometimes and are like, Charlamagne, I don't know where to start, right? And sometimes they're younger than the legal age you can start 401k, because you can start 401k at 21. Right. So sometimes I have my team members, they're 18, they're 19, they're 20, and they're like, oh, where do I start? And to Jose's point, start saving, right? You don't need an age limit to start saving, right? I have 2 kids and I opened both of their savings account the minute they turned 1, right? So I was like, hey, here you go, right? Florida prepaid, let's go. That's what we're doing. So, at the end of the day, you can start early, you can start saving. But I think when it comes to budgets, right, and trying to figure out how much do I put away? How much do I save? Like, Charlamagne, I'm just lost, right? Many years ago, I researched that. I was like, okay, let me just figure out what this is, right? And those of you that are in finance have probably heard of this rule before, that 50-30-20 rule, right? And so I've kind of perpetuated that to kind of help as a guide, not to say this is what you have to do, but as a guide, right? For those that are just starting out and just unsure of like how much I should put where. So let me just break it down just a little bit for those of you who've never heard of it, right? So the 50-30 rule is basically 50% of whatever your income is, right? Whatever you got coming in should go to your expenses, your needs, right? So basically, I need to pay rent. I need to pay mortgage. I need to eat. So I need groceries, right? I need to pay for the car. Those are all needs, right? So those are must-haves. Like they're non-negotiables. I have to pay these, otherwise they're going to go away, right? And then your 30% is your wants, right? So I want to go get my nails done. I want to go get my hair done every so often, right? I want to go to eat out on a restaurant every so often. So that is that 30%. What are your wants? And then the 20% is your savings, right? So I'm going to save 20% of whatever it is that I have coming in. So 50% is going to go to all my bills and expenses. 30% is going to go towards these wants that I have, and then 20% is going to go towards my savings, right? So again, that's just a basic to go through for those that are just like, I don't even know where to start, right? That would be a good start. But to Jose's point, 401ks, absolutely. If you are of that legal age that you can go ahead and start opening that account, open that account, right? Go ahead and put that. A lot of companies have company matching. That's free money that's left on the table. Absolutely. If they say 4% is the start for the company matching, put away 4%, get that free money. Don't do the 1% or the 2%. You're leaving money on the table. So, I always tell my employees when I'm going over the benefit package with them, we match at this percentage, we match again at this percentage. Put the max in so you can get the max percentage, right? As company matching. So I would definitely say when it comes to saving and budgeting, that's just, my tidbit. Obviously, there's budgeting apps out there that can help you and stuff like that. But I'm old school. Open up an Excel spreadsheet, put all your bills in there. I'm a visual person, so you can see exactly what it is that you have going out. You know what you have coming in. And based on that equation alone, you should be able to, again, if you use that 50-30-20 rule, to be able to kind of help out with just a basis on starting budgeting and saving.
Absolutely. Thank you. And our time is up, but Anthony, I definitely want you to answer that question quickly and then kind of just leave us with some, parting words, and then Charlemagne as well. And Jose, just a quick little word or a quick little golden nugget to help, our students and our alumni here with their careers.
Yeah, I think regarding the question, the only other thing I would add is and I found this out maybe later in my career, is that you can set up through HR and through the payroll team an automatic like payroll deduction. So you can get like money from your paycheck and just automatically send it to a savings. So like right now, I get my paycheck and I don't even know money's being taken out. It could be $20, a paycheck, and you're sticking it in a savings. It could be 30. It's really up to you and how much you can give. But that's something I learned later on. And even, you can put like 5% of my paycheck, send it to this account. You don't even look at it. You don't even see it. And then you look at it after a year and you see a good chunk of money there. So I definitely recommend try to save as much as you can. But the as much as you can is like the key, right? Because it depends on where you're at in life and what your goals are. Cool. That's it. That's it for me.
Thank you. Charlemagne, Jose, some parting words before we give the room to the next panel.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I think when it comes to either you're a student or an alumni, first starting out, getting your first job, I remember my thoughts, right? I was like, okay, wow, I'm on my own. I'm leaving Miami, going to Chicago where it's cold. And I'm also trying to figure this out on my own, paying my own bills and things like that. So it can be daunting, right? But take advantage of your benefit packages. I think we've spoken to that, right? It's not just 401ks as well. There's HSAs out there, which are health savings accounts, which can help you pay for out-of-pocket expenses with medical. There's FSAs, which are flexible spending accounts. And right now, with the IRS just upping the amount of pre-tax dollars you can put into these accounts now, again, you can put these pre-tax dollars, in other words, you're not paying any tax on them, into these accounts to help you pay for these out-of-pocket expenses. And there's dependent care ones, there's ones for healthcare. So again, these are things that as you're looking at your benefit package or looking at, where you want to go, whether it's negotiating or whatever the case may be for employment, just take into account some of these things because it can help you with your personal savings, right? To Anthony's point, when you're setting up your direct deposit, set up to go to your checking and a savings account, right? I have that as well. Like, I don't even think about it until Anthony just mentioned it. I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I set that up so long ago. It just keeps going, every paycheck into that savings account, and I don't even think about it. And think about that. Sometimes, you know, if you're thinking to yourself right now, okay, but Charlamagne, I don't even have $20 to put into a savings account. Yes, you do. You pay more than that in gas. Okay, so if you can pay more than that in gas, you have $20 you can put into a savings account and not even think about it. And it can be as little as $20. That can grow over time, right? So just think about those things and know that, you know, you have resources out there and you're not alone.
Sure. Jose?
So biggest way to improve your savings is to improve your salary, right? If you think that you should be earning more, figure that out and get out there and reach out to a recruiter or look for jobs, etc. That's point one. Point two is make sure you guys are evaluating your finances. It's so easy to put away money when you realize that you're spending $150 in subscriptions to YouTube, TV, and Netflix and whatever else. And you're going out to restaurants, or you're eating out for lunch every day. The cafecitos you have, right, 3 times a day, that's $4 or $5 each day. You don't realize you just put away $30 between croquetas and coffees in the day. So there are so many little things you can do that build up snowball effect to have that savings. So if you're looking to save for a house or a new house or a home, or investing, or if you're in a different tax bracket and you're trying to add more to your investing or buy investment property, whatever the case, there are ways that you can mold that. There's obviously fixed expenses that you can't really change, but there are some things you can do. If you're renting, maybe you're renting out in Brickell and you can go live somewhere a little more humbly, right? So there's a lot of evaluations you can do. Those little things, $100 here, $300 there, $500 a month, whatever, it adds up, right? And then invest. Start early. Again, like I said, avoid the get rich quick schemes. Not that they don't exist, right? You can definitely win the lottery, but your chances are very small. So how many times do you hear, oh, invest in this, not to downplay crypto or its future, what have you, but point is, oh, put all your money towards XYZ coin or this and that, and you're going to be a millionaire, but within a week. Like that stuff, yeah, it happened to one guy, right? One person, and they spoke about it, but then there are millions and hundreds of millions of others that kind of cost, built that pocket for that person to cash out on. So just consider that slow and steady wins the race. Just invest early, often, 401k, 403b if you're in the medical field, whatever. If you're a pilot, there's a different one as well. So there are so many ways to put away and plan. Just be mindful with your money. You can still have fun and still be responsible. And again, track your finances. That's one of the biggest things. You don't realize how much money is going out the door on things that sometimes you're like, I don't really need to have this, right? And network. That's going to ultimately open up that next career opportunity, those benefits. That's going to give you some advice as to when you're negotiating with the different employers. I wouldn't be where I'm at in my career without the mentors that have helped get me here. So cheers to that. Thanks for everybody.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Anthony. And thank you, Charlamagne, for the session and for speaking. Since this next topic is wellness, I do want to take the next 5 seconds if you all need to stretch. And some of us have been sitting here for a while, so if you need to stretch your neck or whatever it is, next couple of seconds, do so we can dive into this wellness conversation for today. I do know I need to personally stretch, so I'll do that. There we go. All right, awesome. So without further ado, this is the wellness session. I'm Carlos Rivero. I have the pleasure of moderating this panel today. So here we have Mihaela Plugarasu and we have Dr. Nancy Richmond. If you two want to go ahead and give a little bit of background about yourselves, you can go ahead and dive right in.
Nancy, please. Okay, then I'll start. Hi, everyone. Good morning. It is such a joy to be here with all of you. Thank you so much, FIU alumni, for putting this conference together. My name is Mihaela Plugarashu. I am an associate teaching professor in CARA in the Department of Communications. I teach in the master's program as well as in our undergraduate programs. I created an elective called Self-Leadership, which brings together a lot of different fields from psychology to personal development to leadership and finances sometimes. I do have sometimes a guest speaker on finances to come to my classes, usually an alumna who's excellent on that. So I created that class because I wanted to bridge the gap between academic content and personal development, mentorship, mindset training and coaching that our students need in order for them to be successful upon graduation. And well, I'm also a certified neuromindfulness senior practitioner coach, and I do a lot of other things in coaching, but that's it from me, Dr. Nancy.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored to be on the panel. We've spoken a few times together, and I just wanted to say to everyone who is presenting, thank you so much. I'm so very impressed by our FIU alums, and I actually have taught a few of them that are currently in this session, which is awesome. So my background is in career development and marketing. I'm a marketing professor at FIU. I teach social media marketing, and also I teach a class called Marketing Yourself. And I also teach for the master's in marketing class on branding. So more recently, I've become very, very passionate about happiness and wellness, which is, I think, why I was invited for this panel discussion. And I serve on the board for the World Happiness Foundation. And for the past 2 years, we have hosted the World Happiness Fest at FIU, and we had over 1,200 people there. So that was a really big event in March. And I'm very passionate about helping people figure out how to reach their happiness in their personal life, but also in their careers. And we live in this crazy digital world, and I love social media probably more than anyone else, usually that's teaching, and yet there's a downside to it. So how do we balance that with our wellness? So I'm definitely excited to talk about that more today.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for the introduction, and a little bit about me as well. I'm a business development manager for Park Tree, an importer of alcoholic beverages, and on the side, I also have a photography business, and I am a former Young Alumni Network Executive Committee board member. So it's a little bit about me, and we'll go ahead and get started with some of the questions that I have. So we've heard a lot about crafting personal brands, right? A lot of things about networking, professional development, and negotiating a salary and understanding your finances. And a lot of this could be daunting, could be intimidating, but could also be time consuming, right? For adults, especially the younger adults entering the post-college or the post-graduation environment. So how do you think work-life balance differs from young professionals and the more experienced ones?
Nancy, you want to take that?
Sure. I think one of the major challenges is that just as you go live your life, and your different challenges happen and at different points in time for different people, so for example, I had my daughter when I was 43. So now I have a young person. I have I have a 5-year-old. So my life and my work balance has changed. And everyone has different times in their life where they're going to have family, or they may have big things happening in their life. And so I think, we have to be mindful when we're in the workplace that people are, and this is something I think I've learned over time, is that we have to be mindful that people around us have a lot of things going on outside of work, not just what's happening within, right? And the more mindful that I think we can be of that, the more compassionate that we can be for others. And I think that creates more wellness and just happiness in the office. And people like working with happy people, right? And so the more compassion that we can show, not only to ourselves, but also to others. And, we're all doing the best that we can, right? We're really trying hard. We're doing the best that we can. And we have to give ourselves grace and try to give ourselves forgiveness if we don't do things exactly how we had hoped, right? But it's a constant challenge, and balance, I think, is really key.
Yeah, so just to add to what Nancy said, and I agree 100%. I also had my son pretty late, at 35. So of course my priorities changed. And before becoming a mom, I didn't even worry about work-life balance because I was all about work and getting ahead and following through and pushing through my professional goals. So I think two things. So one is when we graduate college and when students graduate college, it's very hard for a very young person to put things in perspective in terms of 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line. So I think, especially in our culture in the US, I think we are programmed, we are primed in United States to not even think about work-life balance in the first 10, 15 years after college graduation. So this is where this kind of conferences and mentorship and events come in so beautifully, because we have a responsibility towards ourselves to start retraining our mindset when it comes to, I wouldn't necessarily say work-life balance, but let's just say personal well-being, because it resonates a little differently with every single person. So personal well-being. So now my second point is, okay, how do I want to integrate the goal of my personal well-being and general health, physical health and mental and emotional and all of that, within the big pie of all my other goals? And do I even want to give that some thought and some priority? And that's the beginning of the question for me, and I recommend that to everyone to go through this exercise. And then a really easy framework that would help everyone put things in perspective is a triangle. So if we want to think about our life as a triangle, in this triangle we have body, mind, relationships. So from there we can start asking ourselves, what do I want when it comes to my body, well-being and health? What do I want and need to do for my mind? And then what about relationships? And work can fall within these 3 points of the triangle, but now we're thinking about a full integration. Life-work balance doesn't now become this chore that, oh, now I have to think about that. We have to be holistic in our approach to well-being and happiness.
Thank you for that. I appreciate the two of you, sharing that insight. I mean, you had a good point there regarding, like how people, like, that's a great suggestion, how to implement that. Because my next question was actually going to be, what would be a suggestion how to, maneuver through this work-life balance, especially for somebody entering the workforce.
I think I will add to that
Yeah.
when I was first out of college, I was really working so many hours, and I ended up getting my master's degree and my doctoral degree, working full time while I was doing both, and so just working too much. So if I had any words of advice to give to my younger self, like in my 20s, it would be, yes, work hard, but don't forget to enjoy life. And also take care of yourself, because health-wise, I was not taking care of myself. And I would work so many long hours, but even just getting up and taking a little 20-minute break, you can reset your mind. And so now I'm really mindful of taking walks in nature, even if it's just for 20 minutes, and then to go back. And I know that if I do that, then I'm going to do such a better job actually when I go back and I sit and I try to do it again, instead of just trying to constantly be working, which is what I did when I was younger. I think I have more perspective on that now.
Yep, and I definitely appreciate that advice, because when I was graduating personally, right, when I was graduating in 2020, work-life balance was constantly thrown at me, like work-life balance this, work-life balance that. So when I looked for a role that I currently have, I'm very thankful for that I do have a very well-established work-life balance. The work-life balance component was something that it was something that held a lot of value for me. So when we are looking, like when young alumni, recent graduates are looking for jobs, right? We obviously are going to go through rejections. We're going to go through setbacks that could be frustrating. So my next question actually leads to that. What advice, or how would you suggest young alumni entering the workforce? How would you suggest them to handle these setbacks, or how would you suggest them to handle these rejections when applying for jobs and looking for something that aligns with their values, that aligns with what they're looking for as a professional? And whoever wants to go can go. Yeah.
So I can go. Okay, so I used to do career coaching at some point in my life, and I remember reading the stats, and this was 15 years ago, and the stats were one person needs to send out 100 applications to get one interview opportunity. So just think about that ratio for 1 second, right? Now we know I need to apply to 100 different jobs to get one job interview. It doesn't mean I'm getting the job. I'm getting the opportunity to sell myself, to pitch myself. So 99 of my applications are going to be rejected. So now that I know that, it's a matter of math. It's just how things work. Of course, with better algorithms today, and maybe we're hiring the services of a recruiter or a headhunter, things can get easier or more targeted, but rejection is part of the game. There is no other way around it. So the mindset then goes, okay, I know I'm going to quote unquote be rejected, but it's not even I am being rejected. It's about fit. Okay, I know that I have to go through a lot of different applications and then job interviews to finally find a good fit for myself and also for the organization. Because the fit, this matching has to go both ways. It has to be good for both sides. So what I tell students in my self-leadership class is, it's not about getting rejected. We already know that it's part of the process. It's our perception of this quote unquote rejection. It's not about I'm not being rejected. It's a practice. And the more interviews you go through, the better you are going to pitch yourself and sell yourself to the right organization where you can add value to, and they can add value to your life. So now we're working on, we have to work on changing our perception about the word rejection. And I see it as a boot camp, really. It's bring it on. I want to get better. I want to strengthen my mindset. I want to learn how I can pitch myself better. And when we don't get the job that we want, one thing that we can do is to ask for feedback from the interviewers so we can be better at the next one that comes along.
Definitely. I mean, sometimes I know that the jobs that I've gotten rejected for were actually completely terrible fits. And in hindsight, looking back on it, it was actually such a blessing that I didn't get those jobs. Like, thank goodness I didn't get those jobs, because it actually opened up doors to other opportunities that were much better fits. Though at the time, I was really depressed and thought the world was coming to an end. I remember many times feeling like that. And so I think that, if we can see it from a different lens, and that trying to make the best fit is going to be the best for us, but it's definitely hard. I was the director of career services for the College of Business. So I've helped thousands and thousands of students and alums find jobs over the years. And if I could give one word of advice for looking for jobs, is that often alums will start applying to many jobs, hundreds and hundreds of jobs. But really, instead of taking all that time and, looking for a job is like a full-time job. So if any of you right now are looking for a job, it's hard. It's a lot of work, right? It's not easy. It does take a lot of time. Or if you're thinking maybe in the future, I would like to have a new job, right? It's not just like you're going to find it tomorrow. It takes time. Sometimes it can take a few months, even up to a year, to really find the best match. And so what I recommend is, instead of just sending out those online applications, is really talking to people is critical. Like, if you can do informational interviews with other alums, maybe even alums that you heard speak today, or some other people that you've met at different events, or go to FIU alum networking events, you're going to really open up doors that you didn't even know were possible. And those in-person connections are so critically important. And if you're not physically in Miami and you're somewhere else, go to Eventbrite, find events that are happening. find social events where you can meet new people. And I guarantee if you go to 2 or 3 of those, you're going to have more opportunities open up than if you send out 100 applications. And so that will really help you feel better too, because we know that social connections are critical for our mental well-being. And if you have an opportunity, instead of just sitting on the computer, not talking to anyone, getting frustrated, right? And you actually get out there and you talk to people, it's going to make you feel better about yourselves. And it also will help open up doors for the future. And one of the things that I often would see is that people would start trying to network and reach out when they needed a job. But it's really important that you just don't do it when you need a job, but that you're doing it like all the time, because those networks that and connections that you meet have to be nurtured, right? They have to be nurtured over time. And so that's critically important, is really I'm trying to be mindful about going to different events. You know, and it doesn't always have to be a business event. It could just be something that you feel passionate about, like maybe some sort of social good or something in the world. So for example, I'm really interested in helping to clean up Biscayne Bay and reducing plastic pollution. I love nature and I love helping the earth. You can see my earth. So I love the earth, all right? So if you have something you're passionate about, I went to the Biscayne Bay Summit last week and I met all these inspiring, I mean, that's not really what I do per se, but you know, I try to bring aspects and little pieces of that into my classroom. But I met so many wonderful people. So it doesn't always have to be like a business networking event. You can find causes and things that you care about as well. And that can open up doors that maybe you hadn't even thought were possible.
Agreed. And one cool thing is that the FIU Alumni Association and the Young Alumni Network are constantly working on opportunities like these for other alumni to get involved. So I believe that's a great stepping stone, right, to getting involved and working on that. That actually leads to my next question that Dr. Nancy, you kind of answered, which is coping with stress during a job search. So one person on the one hand can do things like that, right? Getting involved, doing things that you're passionate about. And Mihaela, what would you say is a way that people can cope when it comes to a job search that may be stressful?
Yeah, that's a great question, Carlos. And I also saw a question in the chat that asked, how can we cope with stress and burnout? So I'm going to bulk this together. My first thought is learn about your brain. Learn about your neurobiology. You see, we are so enamored in our culture with being smart and having amazing degrees and titles and doing extraordinary things when it comes to cognition, right? But and executive functioning. But most people have no idea about their internal neurobiology. We have no idea about the hormones that are happening in our body every single second, the stressors and the stress hormones that we generate every single second, the balance between the stress hormones, the cortisols and adrenalines and all of that versus the calming, happiness, well-being, feeling safe hormones, serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin and all of these other things. So I am not saying let's all go and get a biology degree. Let's all go out and get a medical degree. No, I'm not saying that. But I do ask of all of us to start learning about the internal software, which is the most magical and the most extraordinary system there ever is the brain, the body, and the connection between the two of them. So if I want to minimize or mitigate the stress in my life, I will always start with how much cortisol am I putting myself through every single day? And how can I bring that down? And then we go into this huge other conversation about gender and how is this affecting a female body versus a male body, and what else do I need to know about that? So, and then we go into the holistic conversation of sleep and nutrition and sunlight and water and hydration and all of this other things. So my first question is, start with getting to know yourself, and someone on this on the other panel said the same thing. We have to learn our neurobiology. I need to know about my brain. I need to know about my body, and what is my brain and my body asking me to slow down in, and when and how, so I can bring all of these levels back into some kind of harmony. And then, of course, we go into this higher level tools like mindfulness and meditation and yoga and walking barefoot and all of these other things. But this is such a big question. It's so holistic, but we can all learn to start. We can all start by learning about the brain.
Yeah, I would say that all of that is super important. And then I would just add to that briefly that one of the experiences I've had is I just love my work so much. I love being a teacher. I love presenting. I love, I'm always doing too many things. I do way too many things. Honestly, I am not great at slowing down. It is not something, but my 5-year-old has actually forced me now to slow down in ways that I never thought I could. So I want to be genuine, and that I'm definitely not an expert on doing everything that's perfect, right? None of us are perfect, but I think that we have to be mindful of it and constantly reshift, right? We constantly have to evaluate and reshift. How are we doing with our relationships? How are we doing with our body? Should we be exercising more? Should we be eating better food? All these things are going to matter. And at one point in my life, I actually was feeling like I just wasn't remembering things well. And I also just wasn't feeling great in general. And I ended up going to the doctors, and they ran tests on me, and I had a vitamin deficiency. And I have like this genetic thing. Like, people don't always think about vitamins. And so now I take these, B12, I take folate, my body can't absorb them in a normal way, apparently. And so people don't always think about vitamins, but there's two things. There's like meditation, yoga, but also just biologically, do you have what you need for your body to be healthy? And so having your vitamin levels checked, I can't say how important that is, just to making sure, because that can really have a big impact on you. And I felt 100% better once I realized that. And I had no idea that, I could have done all the yoga in the world, but if my vitamin levels were off, it wouldn't have worked, right? And so I think that we have to be making sure that we're getting checkups. I think it's really important.
Yeah, I agree with the both of you on that. It's extremely, extremely important to be able to understand yourself, right? So that you can then do what is effective for you, because what is effective for one person might be different for another, right? When it comes to mental health, when it comes to wellness. And so thank you both for for that insight. So we'll go ahead and start with some I'll get some parting thoughts from you. So any last things you want to mention regarding wellness, regarding life, work-life balance for graduates that are entering the workforce, and even that have already been in the workforce? Any last thoughts?
Well, I'll end by reminding everyone this framework for well-being that I mentioned in the beginning, that I've learned from the neuromindfulness school that I did. Body, which is what Nancy was talking about earlier, such a minor thing that until she did the test, she didn't know, yes, about the vitamins level, for example. But the majority of people they know less about their own body than any other subject in the world. And this is the toxicity of our high performing culture in the westernized world. So so body is at one of the tips of the triangle. Mind, it's all about what's going on inside my head, right? What is the self-talk that's happening? What are the multiple voices that are constantly going on and on and on and on? And it's not just one voice. We have multiple voices in our heads, which are there for a long time. And I may go out and, fake it till you make it kind of behavior when I go to work. But if my self-talk is, you're not good enough, who do you think you are? Oh, right, you want that? So we need to work on what's happening inside our head. And that's the mind. And there's a lot more to say about mind, but for the sake of time, I'll just say, pay attention to the self-talk, the multiple voices, write them down. And if you need help, seek help to work with that so you can get better at it. And then relationships, social connections, have a support system, have a support group, go to different, like Nancy was saying, find your people, find your tribe, find your community. Do not stay in isolation. Isolation is the #1 factor for mental health problems. So body-mind relationships, holistical approach to well-being and happiness, take one at a time, think about 1% better. We cannot have it all better all of the time, but we can all strive for the 1% better, one thing at a time. So these are my final thoughts, and thank you so much for having me.
I'll be super quick because I know we're running out of time here. So social is super important. Social online is important. So use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your best tool for staying in contact with people. Critically important. Social in person, it will make you feel better no matter what. If you're down, go find people, it'll help you get jobs, it'll help you succeed in your career. Find your tribe, I think is great. And then put your phones down. Just put them down when you're talking to someone. Don't be on your phones. Like, just put them down. It's hard. We're addicted to these phones, right? I tell my daughter, stop looking at your tablet. Your brain's going to turn to mush. And now she does that to me. She says, Mom, you're looking at your phone too much. Your brain's going to turn to mush. And I'm like, oh man, right? So she checks me on this. So, I recommend at night, don't have your phone right next to you. Like, put it in another room. Like, don't have it be the last thing you see at night and the first thing you see in the morning. Like, it doesn't need to be like constantly on you. And then also, if you're having dinner with people, you're having, you're with other people, like, just put it away, like, put it away out of sight for a bit and truly be with the people that you're in person with. Whether it's your partner or your family or your parents or your sister or brother, whoever it is, just truly give them your full attention. And I guarantee you'll create better relationships. And you'll also just feel better about life. So I think we have to be really mindful in this digital world about using digital well, but also taking digital breaks so that we can function better.
That is amazing. Thank you both so much. I took a lot of notes myself, so I hope everybody else did as well in this discussion. So thank you so much, and we'll go ahead.
Thank you, Carlos. Great job moderating. That was awesome.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you
to
all.
Thank you, Carlos. That was really informative. And I think it's a good segue, the importance about finding a community and feeding the community into philanthropy. Because what better way to create a community of like-minded individuals than to do something that you guys all agree with? We have a stacked panel. I'm gonna wait for more people to come in, and I'll be handling the introductions. In the meantime, let me introduce myself. My name is Marlon. I am part of the Young Alumni Committee. I graduated FIU and FIU Law, and I'll be moderating this panel. I've met everybody already, but I know most people who's doing this online don't know our panelists. So I'm going to give brief introductions on everybody, starting with Hector Lands. I wrote it down because everyone's really accomplished and I just don't want to miss anything. So Hector graduated from the FIU International Business Program, and he also earned his JD from FIU College of Law. Currently, he serves as Vice President of Business Development and General Counsel at Crosswell International. When Hector's not working, he serves as a board member of Alphalet International and is a catechist in the Catholic Church. Next, we have Melissa Lopez. Melissa Lopez is a sports communication manager at NBC Universal Telemundo Enterprises. Her educational background includes a BS in communications with a focus on PR and a minor in psychology from FIU, where she later returns to complete her MBA. She is deeply committed to community service, actively contributing to the United Way of Miami as co-chair of the executive committee for LINK, a community of young philanthropists, and serving on the Impact Circle executive committee for Big Brothers Big Sisters Miami. Next, we have Rahul Mittal, an international student from India. He's the first from his family to attend university abroad. He graduated summa cum laude from the Honors College with a bachelor's degree in computer science. While at FIU, Rahul was an RA, a research assistant, a tutor for the Knight Foundation School of Computing and Information Sciences. He was recognized as Homecoming Prince, Outstanding Graduate in Computer Science, and the Alumni Torchbearer during Homecoming's Trail of the Torch tradition. Upon graduating, Rahul moved to Austin, Texas, where he works as a data engineer at Dell Technologies. In memory of his cherished grandfather, Rahul established the Rahindra Mittal International Excellence Award for international students in STEM degree to receive a laptop scholarship. We also have Veronica Bernice. I'm not sure if I pronounced your last name correctly. I hope I did. She is a dynamic nonprofit leader dedicated to driving impactful fundraising strategies and forging meaningful partnerships. With a master's in nonprofit management from UCF and a bachelor's in international relations from FIU, Veronica brings a wealth of expertise in fundraising, donor stewardship, prospect research, and grant writing. A proud Fall 2023 participant of Leadership Miami, she's committed to drive positive change in our community. She's also fluent in Spanish and have studied Arabic and French, and she brings a global perspective to her work, advocating for inclusivity and social justice. Veronica's dedication to nonprofit extends beyond her professional endeavors, having volunteered her time in various capacities. When Veronica is not dedicating her time to the community, she's found baking for a small business, Rainbowlicious Delights. And lastly, we have Ashley Alvarez. Ashley is a Miami native, born and raised. She is a very proud two-time FIU alum. In 2014, she graduated with a bachelor's in international relations and political science with certificates in Latin American and Caribbean studies, national security, and cybersecurity. In 2020, she graduated with a master's in public administration with a certificate in public finance, procurement, and contract management. During her undergrad years at FIU, she served as a member of the SGA. In 2012 and 2013, she received the President's Volunteer Service Award for serving over 300 hours each year in our community. Ashley has over 10 years of experience in public affairs and government relations, working with various stakeholders and organizations at the local, state, and federal level. Currently, Ashley is the manager for the Miami Walk to End Alzheimer's, which will be held right here at FIU on November 16th this fall. So that's our panelists. I hope I didn't miss anything. I didn't pronounce anything too horribly wrong. Thank you again, guys, for taking the time on this Saturday to come speak to your FIU community. And I just want to say welcome home. And I want to kick off by asking, how did you all get involved in your respective organizations? And if you can, Ashley, can you kick us off?
Sure. In the organization that I'm in, it's actually a very interesting story. Well, first of all, my mother has had Alzheimer's for the past 10 years. The last 2 years, she became bedridden and nonverbal. And so actually, it was a Sammy about 3 years into her diagnosis where he had invited me to go to the Alzheimer's walk that was around the area. And I didn't think too much of it up until I was working with a state representative in 2018, where I met their advocacy team. And I started doing, rally and tally for advocacy for Alzheimer's Association. And I saw a group of people that were just like me, going through the same struggles, going through the same problems. And I wanted to be part of that. There wasn't necessarily any positions available, but I did everything that I could to be able to help the mission. And just this past February, I got a call saying, hey, we opened up a position because our walk is going to become $1 million walk this year. And we thought of you first. So here I am. And yeah, I'm loving every moment of it. It's very fulfilling. After many years in politics, the nonprofit route has always been in my heart.
Awesome. What about you, Veronica? How do you get involved with United Way?
So I was born and raised in Miami, and I feel like I've always been familiar with the name. But it was really during the pandemic that it allowed me to really explore what I was doing with my life, and it wasn't fulfilling my passions. And so I decided to sort of pivot. And I saw that the organization had a research role at the time, which I thought was perfect with what I had been previously doing. And so I was lucky enough that in late 2020, I started the application process, and I was able to finally join the organization in January of 2021. It's amazing to know that I'm finally where I belong in terms of my passion for serving the community and getting others to get engaged with that as well.
And Melissa, you're involved in United Way, right?
Yes, I am. And it was kind of FIU that led me there indirectly because I was so involved at FIU. And when I graduated, I felt like such a big piece of what my day-to-day was missing. And speaking to my manager during a professional development conversation, they mentioned that multiple people at my company were involved in United Way, and my direct supervisor was actually part of the founding, I guess, cohort of Link, which is the young professionals group that now I'm co-chair for. So it's been a journey from 2017 on, and I'm super passionate about the organization, how it touches so many areas of the community, and I'm excited to keep growing within it.
Shifting internationally, Hector, can you talk to us about how you heard about Alpha Lit? I don't think many people are familiar with the organization, and what made you sign up to be part of the board?
Yeah, definitely. So Alpha Lit was Alpha Lit began many years ago, but it really grew when a family friend of mine got involved, which is Jessica Milton and her family. And when I was in law school at FIU, she invited me to be part of the Young Professionals Board there. I couldn't do it at the time because I was a 1L and I was studying like crazy, reading like crazy. But as soon as I graduated, the first thing I did was call her up and join the board. And with a lot of love and compassion for me and patience for me, she said, "Yeah, of course, we'd love to have you." So since then, we've done a lot of great things. We've hosted events all over South Florida to raise money for schools and children all around the world to teach them how to read and write. So it's a really beautiful venture that we're involved in.
That's awesome. And Rahul, I know that you're involved and it's very personal, similar to Ashley. You have a family connection with it. Can you speak on the program that you actually helped establish after graduating from FIU?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think for me, it started when I graduated. On the day of my graduation, my grandpa passed due to COVID. So it was a really sad day for me, but I think because of him, I was able to come to FIU for the 4 years. I was initially funded by him, and then I came in with a scholarship through FIU. So kind of all of those things came together for me to kind of honor his legacy. So I reached out to the FIU Foundation to see kind of what I can do. And a lot of people kind of throughout FIU who I looked up to had already established similar scholarships that I had kind of got inspired from. So it's through the P2P program, Pathway to Philanthropy, that I saw a few of my classmates who had already established these kind of scholarships. So I established a scholarship for international students. As I was an international student myself, I saw there was kind of a huge gap of scholarships available and opportunities available for international students. And as I in FIU, I wanted to really kind of emphasize on that internationalism. Coming from a STEM background, for me, STEM education is really important, and kind of the way we see the world going towards technology, I kind of believe in like STEM education and STEM empowerment. So kind of all of those things coming together, I decided to establish a scholarship, starting small, just one laptop per year, to be able to encourage and empower international students so that they can do much more than what they came for. And I think part of that scholarship is mentorship. Mentorship for me has been like really important. I think since I came to FIU, I actually see my peer advisor JD here on the call, as well as Carlos. He was my peer mentor. So kind of I kind of see the people here kind of guided and mentored me throughout the 4 years at FIU, and I thought that was really important for where I got. So as part of the scholarship, one of the things I do is mentor the recipient of the scholarship. So I think that's kind of like mentorship and scholarship go hand in hand for me.
Awesome. And I really like that you tied in the networking aspect of getting involved in a nonprofit, because a lot of times I think we will all agree in every aspect of life, you get what you put in. So if you give a lot to your philanthropy or to the community, you find yourself receiving sometimes way more than that. To no one directly, but does anyone have any examples of how your involvement in the community helped you personally, spiritually in your career, or you just had a moment you're like, oh, wow, I really benefited from this?
I guess I'll go ahead and start. Well, with the obvious, with unfortunately having my mother in the state that she's in, I was kind of lost, and so was my family. I'm the last of 4 kids, so of course, I'm no one to be making decisions according to my age, or they always see me as a baby. But when I found the Alzheimer's Association, I found a group of various cohorts of people that are going through the same struggle, that also have, issues with families making decisions and whatnot. And with the association, they have caregiver consultants, they have free brain scans for individuals like myself who I would need a diagnosis to be able to get a brain scan in terms of mild cognitive decline. There's just a bunch of things that they provide that I have benefited myself prior to working with them, and now being able to bring that awareness. And I always tell everybody first that before fundraising and before the teams for the walk that we're going to be having, it's awareness, so that way people can feel at home and that you don't feel alone, because that's the first thing that happens to caregivers. So.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off Ashley's comments. Thanks, Ashley, for that. I think in general, when you're involved in a nonprofit, it is a great networking opportunity that many people miss. You have to understand that the most successful people in town usually want to give back in some way. And the way that they do that is by getting involved with these nonprofits. And so now you share this, common interest, and maybe share some time with, these people you would otherwise never be connected with. In my life personally, I've, made great connections for, both business and also great friendships personally. And I think part of this too is, how do you advance your career? But beyond that, you could be the most successful person in the world and still be missing something. And I think we all, like, God put something in us when we're born that's to find the purpose that we have in life. And some people think it's making a lot of money. You can make a lot of money and still not have that purpose fulfilled. Money's important. It's a problem that needs to be solved. But how do we fulfill our purpose? And I think at the heart of everybody's answer is service, serving others, living selflessly rather than selfishly. And one way to do that is to get involved in the nonprofit organizations. And I invite anybody that's listening, if they'd like to get involved, offering an olive branch here, feel free to reach out to me, and I could get you involved in Alphalit. We definitely need the people, and you're going to benefit a lot, not just personally, but also professionally, I would say.
Melissa, with Link and Impact Circle, you see a lot of like young professionals that want to get involved for whatever reasons, be it networking, maybe they have a personal connection where they received help and they want to get back. What has been some tip that you would give somebody that wants to get involved, that's a young professional and kind of doesn't know where to go?
Yeah, because it's definitely, there's so much. And I think that's also how I landed in United Way. There's so many organizations out there. And if you don't have a perfect like touch point, something like United Way touches the different areas of the community. And it's been great. But the way I found that is through work, right? So a lot of my companies, even now at NBC, there's a portal where we can go in and see who are NBC's community partners and how can I get involved? What are monthly one-off events that they do regionally that you can be involved in? A second way would be turn to your mentors, right? Like your boss at work, people outside of work, what organizations are they involved in? I'm sure anyone who's involved in organizations constantly trying to look for more people to help and get involved. We all need the assistance, so they'll be happy to get you in the right spot. And then lastly, I would say this is more one-on-one, but mentorship is so important. And opening your inbox or your LinkedIn message box to current FIU students who are either looking for advice on how to navigate FIU or life after FIU is a great way to also be involved in the community. And it's helping less people at a time, but you're making a more significant impact in someone's life and seeing that. So I think those are the best like 3 ways to get involved.
Awesome. Veronica, do you have any tips for any recent graduates or someone who, what Hector was saying, like they feel like an absence in their life and they think community service could probably fill that, and they don't, either they feel like they don't know where to go or they don't have anything to give. Maybe they think I don't have financial means to like donate $1,000 a week or a month or something. So what can I do? And I think there's so much more than just the financial aspect to help nonprofits. If you can speak to that, please.
Absolutely. Obviously, the financial component is important because that's how we're making the impact that we're making. But just getting involved, spreading advocacy. I always say there's so many ways to be a United Way champion. Getting involved with Link, especially, I think is amazing for recent graduates. We are the only group specifically within the nonprofit space in Miami that's for 30 and younger leadership donors. And it's a $250 annual donation specifically to avoid that fear of philanthropy is something you only do at a certain age or at a certain level. You could be involved in making a change at any given point. But going back to other opportunities, volunteering, we have volunteer opportunities. We also have, I think, professional opportunities to really gain leadership skills, serving through our volunteer committees like Mel and Link. We also have within our community impact councils opportunities to get really intimately aware with the work that we're doing in the community. And through that, you can really share our services with everyone. The dollars that we raise and the programs that we fund only work if they reach the people that are most needed. So hopefully that helps.
And if I can just add one small thing, because we were talking about just spreading the word, it doesn't cost you anything to repost a story, to reach out and ask. Now during hurricane season starting, I know a lot of natural disasters happen around the world. And if you don't know, you want to donate and don't know how to, I know United Way will post even outside of Florida, like, okay, this is the link, this is exactly where you can donate and know that your dollars are going to help those communities. So definitely just advocacy.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll share a little kind of personal story, kind of a different angle on this. I think a lot of new recent graduates would relate. So when I moved out of Miami to Austin, and when I graduated, it was a huge culture shock, more than the culture shock from me coming from India to Miami, was Miami to Austin. I think the biggest thing was kind of like at FIU, you're always involved up in doing things. But once you kind of graduate and you have your kind of adult life going on, there's different types of things going on, and you feel kind of a gap because of the kind of the community you felt at FIU. So for me, kind of that first year graduating out of FIU was really challenging, not able to kind of meet as many people or make as many friends or even like find that purpose that I had at FIU. And I think one of the ways I solved that was finding a local kind of community volunteering opportunity. So my company Dell, they work with a lot of different nonprofits, and one of the nonprofits I work with is Horse Ranch. They actually give horse riding lessons to veterans as well as people people on the spectrum. So they help kind of all of these people get resilient, get more independent. And I love horses, I love animals. Kind of for me, putting those two things together, and my love for animals as well as being able to help people, kind of gave me that purpose, and it kind of even pushed me and motivated me to kind of keep going forward. So I think if you're graduated and you don't know what you're doing after work, and find something to volunteer, help people, I think that will fulfill more than trying to do something else.
Awesome. And I think also, like, you don't have to go far too to look for events like FIU. They're hosting events all the time, fundraisers with different organizations and partnerships. I think Ashley, there's one coming up, right? I think it was part of your introduction. You want to speak on that? Do a little sales pitch?
Yes, yes. So as Marlon had mentioned in the beginning, right here at home at FIU at the stadium, November 16th, there's going to be a walk to end Alzheimer's. We are currently asking for people to sign up for teams and recruit participants. But most of all, just remember that don't feel overwhelmed with the donation part. As mentioned before, this is all about the awareness part of it. And you will be very surprised as to who will donate when you just share that link. As Melissa had mentioned earlier, it doesn't hurt to just share that link. I've had my sister who I pushed her to come onto my team. She got an anonymous donation for $500. I have another friend of mine who signed up as a team all the way from Virginia. And again, she was doing it to help me out, but she actually had two different donations, each one for $100 and another one for $150. And both of them had a parent with Alzheimer's, and that's how they got connected. And I connected with them and whatnot. And so to kind of give the shameless plug, a way to get involved at FIU is like that, to come and join us at the walk. But I did want to mention one thing that has nothing to do with the walk, because I always like to give, different perspectives. A lot of students need to realize that, I mean, as you're going through your career in school, is that FIU allows and provides many resources that you may not be aware of. You just got to look for it. Our professors are incredibly connected. Two of our professors in my program were former presidents of Costa Rica, involved in different agencies, and a lot of the time these individuals are looking for them to volunteer in the community for different reasons, especially with South Common, etc. I digress, but there's plenty of opportunities at FIU to get involved.
Yeah, and I think it's also important that we recognize that FIU isn't just Biscayne Bay campus or MD or Modesto Moody campus. Like, FIU is Miami, FIU is South Florida, FIU is in Austin, FIU is everywhere. And if you want to get involved, or if you want to work on your networking or any other topics that were discussed today, just go out and reach out. And the FIU network's out there. It's not just stuck to those like structures. It's definitely a community. And to get a lot out of FIU after graduation, it involves giving into FIU, giving, if it's time or anything. Attending this panel is a great first step for everyone that's attending and you want to do something more. So I thank you for attending. And especially, I think the panelists, we are out of time, but I do appreciate, again, taking the time to come here and just speak about your personal experience with philanthropy. I don't think that's something that gets highlighted too much, because everyone kind of focuses on career growth and trying to grow up the corporate ladder. But look, we found out that this could be a tool to help with that. And also, maybe you're up the corporate ladder and you feel like you need something else. So again, thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you, Marlon. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlon.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Panthers. My name is Keandre, the Executive Vice Chair for the Young Alumni Executive Committee. I would first like to thank everyone for taking the time out of your Saturday to join us for our second GrowthCon. We have learned so much from all of our various different panels. I want to thank every speaker, every moderator, every guest, and I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart and from the bottom of the committee's heart for taking the time to join us this Saturday. It's been so enriching and so wonderful. I'll talk about a little bit about what's coming up next in the FIU alumni verse, if you would like to call it that. First is the premiere of our FIU mentorship platform. As you can see on the screen, you have mentorship.fiu.edu. This is a new platform that I encourage everyone here to join. You can go ahead and connect and find mentors, colleagues, and different folks to join up with and learn from. A lot of the concepts that we learned today can be applied directly on this website. So go ahead and visit mentorship.fiu.edu and go ahead and join us there. Next, we have Panthers in the Bay coming up on June 22nd, which is actually in the San Francisco area. So if you have friends or alum that are in the San Francisco area or the surrounding area that are looking to get involved, there is a Panthers in the Bay event. As we talked about, FIU is global and our alumni base is engaging all over the world. And we want to make sure that we offer opportunities for everyone to connect with their fellow Panthers in their city. Next is Chapter Thursday. The FIU Greek alumni are bringing back Chapter Thursdays on Thursday, June 27th. So please pay attention to all of FIU alumni socials across Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook to make sure that you are plugged into these events. Again, lastly, we will be hearing from our Chief Alumni Officer, Sarah Dusenois, to learn more about what's next in your FIU alumni journey. Thank you all for coming.
Hello, Panthers. Thank you for participating in this year's GrowthCon. Your participation today is just the beginning of your journey with FIU alumni. Today, we heard from remarkable alumni and experts to learn more about what young professionals are experiencing today. Thank you to our speakers and guests for sharing your insights and advice. GrowthCon is a snapshot of what FIU alumni can provide you as part of a growing community with over 300,000 alumni. We welcome you to join the fun and excitement, so stay connected, stay engaged, and always pause up.
Again, that is the end of our festivities for today. Thank you everyone again for coming to our second GrowthCon. Please make sure to connect with FIU alumni and FIU Young Alumni on Instagram and FIU alumni on Facebook. We also have our FIU Young Alumni LinkedIn group, so go ahead and join there. But once again, thank you everyone for taking the time out of your Saturday to join us. We really appreciate you. Also, special shout out to our planning committee and a special shout out to our partners in the FIU Alumni Relations Office for putting this wonderful program together. Everyone give yourself a round of applause, and we really hope that you took something away that will help you go further. So many golden nuggets that we talked about today. And make sure to connect. And soon the space will be closing. So please, again, thank you so much for taking your time out of your Saturday to join us.